We're gonna break into this. Use my new gun. I paid a lot of money for that. Gun's fully locked and loaded. Let's do this.
Leaving us all to crash and burn. I'm just saying, if you don't see me in the next video, assume I got it right.
And of course, the whole thing ends with the rapture, the final takeover of a single world power. Step 4 of Project Bluebeam is the most outlandish part of the whole plan. It involves making people believe that an alien invasion is happening. The government's been creating and testing UFOs for this very reason, mind you. Next, everyone will be convinced that the rapture is starting. And finally, using some mix of electronic and supernatural forces, microchips will be activated in all consumer electronics and appliances, which have been, of course, pre-planted. After this, chaos will erupt and people will be scared and desperate enough to finally accept a new world order. After this, according to Monist, everyone will sign their souls away to Lucifer and officially enter the new world order. Those still clinging to their former religions will then be kept as slaves. It's really not that hard to see what this dude is trying to accomplish with this conspiracy theory.
Oh, shit.
Project Serpo, a secret government exchange program with extraterrestrial beings.
Did astronauts visit a distant planet and interact with alien beings? And are they still in cahoots with the government to this day?
A top secret exchange program between
We'll let you live.
Government and planet
You're an innocent
Serpo,
bystander.
located in the Zeta Reticuli star system, aka the planet of the short grays. The project was allegedly created under the administration
Don't need
of
this
President
no
John
more.
F. Kennedy after the U.S. government saved the life of an alien, Gta5, who crash landed on Earth back in 1947.
Innocent.
Entirely grateful and forever indebted to humanity, the alien began working with the U.S. government and teaching them about
now I need to find. Aha! I found it.
Gta5 died. He left behind communications.
Oh, that's such an easy one.
Then used to eventually get into contact with other Serpo natives. That is when the government made arrangements to send 12 specially trained astronauts to planet Serpo so that they may learn about life outside of our atmosphere. In order to reach Serpo, the 12 astronauts had to travel through a wormhole, after which the majority of them got sick and one unfortunately died of an aneurysm.
My brain erased it.
Of course, they kept going and eventually they reached the
5291.
For a decade, they studied life on Serpo before returning home and assuming entirely new identities in order to protect the security of the mission. Fair enough, I suppose.
What?
What are the origins of this Project Serpo tale? Well, like with most conspiracies in the modern age, it started gaining popularity online and took off from there. It all started in 2005 when a series of anonymous emails began circulating among UFO researchers and enthusiasts. These emails, which were allegedly from a retired U.S. government official who remained anonymous, laid out this insane story about an extraterrestrial exchange program. We'll talk more about this.
Yeah, my bunker got resupplied.
Project Serpo story started making
and I got $1,000.
these types of stories would have
nice.
It was 2005. The internet was still relatively new in the grand scheme of things, anyway.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Hungry for new sensational stories, and this one it's pretty much the definition of sensational.
Ooh, Dr. Dre has arrived at the recording studios. Sir Blade, you got a treat today. If I stop running into things.
The U.S. government supposedly made contact with aliens. As many of you are probably already aware, in 1947, an unidentified object crash landed on some farmland in Roswell, New Mexico. When Area 51 was alerted of the incident, they rushed to the scene, collected the object, and released a statement saying that what had come spiraling down to Earth a few nights prior was nothing
I'm going in the wrong direction, don't you know?
Then they sent the object.
We're gonna go to the studio.
And another, and another. Why? Well, because it wasn't actually a weather balloon.
This way.
It was an alien spacecraft containing 6 aliens.
We're gonna go to the Dr. Dre's studio. That's a real treat, y'all.
Number 1, or Gta5. Gta5 was taken to the Air Force facility in Los Alamos, where he stayed until his death in 1952. During this time, he learned to communicate with the military and told them some pretty interesting things.
Now, if the U.S. government is really working with these alien beings, where might they be carrying out their activities? Area 51, some hidden base in Antarctica? Well, some say they could be operating
wrong side of the street.
more top secret place, Dulce Base. Dulce Base supposedly sits deep beneath the Colorado-New Mexico border, close to Dulce, New Mexico. Dulce Base is said to be a secret facility where humans and aliens are...
And we are here,
exchanging
peoples.
ideas and doing all sorts of experiments, multiple levels deep
What's up?
underground with high-tech labs. The rumors are that different alien species from the Greys,
What's
from
up, Timothy?
Serpo, possibly to the reptilians, are working hand in hand with the U.S. government. As to what they're trying to accomplish, probably something really fun and good that we don't really need to bother.
Welcome to my broadcast.
This place really started coming.
We're gonna go in and see Dr. Dre play. So here's the store. See, I'm gonna show you. I can walk up.
Full of gray aliens and humans. His claims caught a lot of attention, but
hoodies.
He ended up in a mental
So I got that one already.
2003. There's always been this rumor that he was part of a big, widespread misinformation campaign.
You can buy clothing, and there's just nothing fits my fancy. I'm not gonna even. Designer hoodies.
As they are referred to by humans, had actually been
Same hoodie, it's just different colors, no designs.
years with no issue, but unfortunately this time new
I'll keep what I got.
technology that they don't have on Serpo caused the
Oh,
ship to go haywire and crash, killing the majority of the crew. In 1949, a similar thing happened. 6 Evens crash landed, but this time unfortunately none of them made it. When the ship was examined, the military found a communications device which they worked on with EVA 1.
Alright, we're gonna go in here. I've already done this mission. I could do it again should I choose.
They finally got a reply. Communications began between the U.S. military and the Evens. It took a while, but eventually they were able to understand one another. After learning about the 12 deceased Evens stranded on Earth, the Evens asked if they could come to Earth and retrieve the bodies. Of course, the military wanted something in return, so they came up with the exchange program. The military wanted tech, but the Evens said, no, you're not ready for our tech. And so they proposed
That's not Dr. Dre.
for the bodies of their deceased, 12 astronauts could spend a decade on planet Serpo. Furthermore, an Even would stay on Earth
There
to
he
assist
is.
the military. In 1964, the Evens landed on Earth once again to retrieve the bodies, and Project
You
Serpo,
should not
aka
drink.
Project
No
Crystal
drinky,
Light,
drinky.
as it has also been called.
No drinky, drinky.
The star system where these aliens are supposedly from has
Just
been the center
one,
of some of the
man.
most famous alien abduction stories in history, including the Barney and Betty Hill abduction. Were these beings from Serpo?
Drinking's bad for you, okay?
Typically called responsible for abductions like this. The Barney and Betty Hill case is pretty interesting. In September of 1961, this American couple was driving through.
He may have arrived at the studio, but he's not doing nothing, and I'm not impressed. But that's the studio.
Barney decided to stop the car to get out and have a look. What he allegedly saw were humanoid figures peering out from a hovering craft. The hills peeled off.
We don't get to see a nice studio like that nowadays, unless you're gifted and around it.
As the days passed, they started to remember things. They ended up reporting being taken aboard a UFO where they were subjected to medical examinations by beings described as small, with gray skin, oversized
Ooh, I like
eyes,
that car.
and tiny little anime mouths, which is that's the exact way they
It
describe
looks like a Mustang, though.
Anime mouths. Their account was
Yeah,
one of the
it is a
earliest
Mustang.
descriptions of the now iconic image of your classic gray
Nice
alien.
car.
Of course, a regular
I'm building
mission
up
to
my
space
money,
is no
though.
walk in the park, but a mission to a faraway planet located in a solar system entirely
I gotta
separate from
see
our
this.
own, that's tough. And apparently so was the training process. It took an entire year of survival, escape, evasions, weapons, and psychological training for the 12 astronauts to become fully prepared for their mission. The crew consisted of scientists, linguists, pilots, 2 doctors, and a security officer. Over the course of a year, along with the standard training, one by one, each member of the crew was buried in a 6 by 5 foot box and kept there for 5 days. As part of a training intensive, there was no light, no communication,
No
just a small
thanks.
air hole that allowed the astronauts to receive food.
You have
water,
to get the
and
price
not
tag.
suffocate to
I ain't
death.
doing
It was
it.
tough, but they all passed. and the pilots even went on to learn how to operate alien spacecrafts. When it came time to take off, the 12 astronauts, along with 40 tons of gear, which included 10 motorcycles and 3 jeeps, were loaded into the spacecraft using anti-gravity technology, and one even came along to assist in their journey. When the ship was all boarded, each astronaut went to their own individual pod and settled in for the long journey ahead.
All right, before we get to what they saw on that journey, let's have a little bit of fun here and talk about something that comes up more than you'd probably think when Project Serpo or just interactions between aliens and humans is discussed. Hybrids. Yeah, aliens creating human-alien hybrids, either through experimentation or, God forbid,
we're gonna go to my nightclub because I have work to do.
like it's going down the same rabbit hole that creepy online fan fiction does. Or it's like, I'm going to write about my fantasy of Alf impregnating Willie Tanner. I don't know. I'm not trying to shame, live your lives, but the concept
I'm not dealing with no VIP.
breeding with each other always feels
I ain't driving you
silly
nowhere.
to me. With that said, though, this
We're gonna let that build
play
up.
into the Project Serpo conspiracy. Those astronauts were apparently on this planet for a while. Who knows who they met? One thing could have led to another. Plus, in all these reported UFO abduction cases, who knows what kind of nasty experiments those Greys could have been doing.
When the crew arrived at Serpo, the first thing they noticed was that it was barren, bright, and hot. Really hot. About 107 degrees Fahrenheit or 41 degrees Celsius. Quickly,
We're gonna
they
do a
realized
mission.
why. Planet Serpo had 2 suns, which are shown here in a photograph taken by one of the astronauts, allegedly. One of the suns was orbited by Serpo, and the other was off in the distance. Because of this, the planet never got dark, and the days were 40 hours long, meaning that their decade-long mission was actually going to take 13 human years. In total, there are about 650,000 Evans living on the planet in small, separate village communities and houses made of some kind of concrete rubber substance. It was a primitive life, but at the same time, the Evans were equipped with electricity and incredibly advanced technology. Families generally consisted of a male and female Even, and each family was allowed to have a maximum of 2 children, which were hidden away until they reached the age of maturity. During their time on Serpo, the astronauts gathered as much information about the Evans as they could. And if you guys remember, I do believe I mentioned that one of the astronauts died on transit. Apparently, the Evans used that astronaut to clone and create hybrids of, like James mentioned, and it was then that the remaining astronauts realized that they weren't as peaceful as they once thought them to be. When it came time to return home, for some reason, 2 of the astronauts actually decided to stay, and then 2 more astronauts died on the way back to Earth. The surviving astronauts were given a large sum of money and an entirely new identity. That's great and all, but many of them were suffering from radiation poisoning due to the 2 suns and died soon after their return to Earth.
One of the most avid supporters of the Project Serpo conspiracy is a man named Richard Doughty, who we can't really talk about Serpo without talking about this guy. See, Richard Doughty has made some pretty outlandish claims, so outlandish that there's a whole other conspiracy that spawned around him and other government officials like him. Supposedly, Doughty was the man behind those anonymous emails I talked about earlier. Richard Doughty is a retired special agent who used to work for AFOSI, the United States Air Force Office of Special Investigation. But a lot of people think he wasn't actually investigating UFOs, but that he was part of a team spreading misinformation. Intentionally, basically muddying the waters and leaking supposedly secret info about the government's exchange program with alien beings in order to confuse the public, making it hard for us to tell what's real or not. Of course, the purpose behind the misinformation is, of course, to distract everyone from the actual nefarious things the government is up to. I mean, who doesn't get excited about aliens, right? I'm sure we'd all rather believe that the worst thing the government is doing is working with extraterrestrials instead of them doing some shady stuff at our own expense. Could there be some genuine truth about the planet Serpo thing? I mean, sure, maybe, but just something to keep in mind with stuff like that. Honestly, what doesn't the Blue Planet Project cover?
We're talking short grays, tall whites, crossbreeding hybrids, and advanced intergalactic technologies and pharmaceuticals. Take it away. away, James.
So, what is the Blue Planet Project? Well, the Blue Planet Project is a global movement dealing with the Earth's water crisis, but who cares about that? We're talking about another Blue Planet Project, a top secret document leaked by a supposed whistleblower from the U.S. government, leaking info about decades of cooperation between the U.S. military and alien forces right here on Earth. The document was never meant to be seen by the public, but in 1991, an anonymous author released it. It was filled with sketches, notes, diagrams of different alien species and their advanced technology.
And here I was worried about my health.
Secret information was released in a book entitled Blue Planet Project, an inquiry into alien life forms. This one contained lost chapters and was full of info that had been left out of the original release. Info we'll be diving into in more detail, but in general, it contains stuff that's been leaked by a number of whistleblowers. There's actually more than one author. Their names are now known: Salza and Gil Carlson, and apparently the bigwigs have not been happy. Ever since these books came out, there are 3 in total now. The United States government, NASA, and all those aliens working with them who thought they were being all sneaky have been absolutely pissed. The monkey wrench has been thrown, the secrets have been leaked, and now me and Hannah are here to kick them while they're down. We're going to mess up the global elite's plans even further with the help.
And he's down for the count.
Ready to rumble.
According to Blue Planet Project documents, there are 4 specific extraterrestrial races. Some you might have heard of before, and some you might have not. To ease us in, let's start with the most commonly known alien races, the Zeta Reticulans and the Reptilians. The first documented race are the Zeta Reticulans, aka the Greys. The Greys are your kind of stereotypical-looking aliens, said to be humanoid beings with gray skin, large heads, and almond-shaped black eyes. They have slender bodies with elongated arms, legs, fingers, and toes, and their height ranges from 3 to 4 feet. The species is incredibly technologically advanced. They possess telepathic abilities and are often associated with abductions and genetic experimentations due to their scientific interest in humanity. Next described are the Reptilians, humanoid beings with scaly skin, slitted eyes, and sometimes even tails. According to reports, these guys are often aggressive and manipulative. Not only that, but apparently many of them have already infiltrated society. I'm talking the government. That's right, the president is a lizard.
One of the subjects that's come up in the Planet Project conspiracy is the existence of alien pharmaceuticals. Now, that does not sound very good. These are exactly what they sound like: highly advanced medications or substances that extraterrestrial beings possess, far superior to anything developed here on Earth, capable of treating diseases, enhancing physical abilities, or even altering consciousness. And that's where things get gnarly, because sure, we'd love to have quick cures to horrible illnesses, but I don't want to be swallowing pills covered in the grease stains by a race of reptilians. I want to control my dang brain on top of that, but that could be exactly what's going on. Aliens and the government working in unity to create highly addictive medications that keep us dumb, dependent, and delirious. But they may also be working on developing medications for humans that can help us endure long space flights, just like our spacefaring pals. I don't want to come off too negative here, in case they're watching from their secret labs deep beneath the Denver airport.
Okay, now that we've covered Greys and Reptilians and gotten a little more information about the project from James, thank you, James, let's talk about the remaining alien races discovered to date. We have the Nordics, the Mantis beings, and the Indistincts. Starting with the Nordics, or as you may know them, tall whites, which are tall humanoid beings with fair or pale
Cops aren't
skin,
never gonna
light
find
blonde
me up
hair,
here.
and blue or green eyes, along with an ideal
And they lost
muscular
me.
physique. The Nordics
I'm
are
getting ready to
benevolent
level
and
up to
spiritually
214.
advanced, with a goal to push humanity towards enlightenment and peace. And then there are the mantis beings. Insectoid mantis-like creatures with long, slender bodies equipped with a human head and torso, large, compound insect eyes, and sectioned lips. Like the Nordics, mantis beings are considered spiritual beings with access to higher dimensional realms than our own. According to the documents laid out by the Blue Planet Project, there are also other variations of the 4 species, likely due to cross-coital interactions between them, as well as completely separate, indistinguishable alien beings with appearances and motives that humans are just not yet able to conceptualize. So don't even bother thinking about it, because you can't. Your brain won't. It's not You don't have that ability.
Magi, the Majority Agency for Joint Intelligence, is a powerful government organization that controls a number of secretive projects, all detailed in the Blue Planet Project books. The projects are called aliens.
I mean, I don't want your YouTube to be double.
Secret in exchange for their technology. They also agreed to allow
Because if I put it on there with it at the same volume, it will literally double on your end. And it will double in the video.
History of aliens on Earth and their interaction.
That would be kind of trippy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
The right person to echo.
Like, that would be so trippy. I don't want to do that to somebody.
All with specific jobs and tasks.
He left the party.
The presence of aliens.
Remember how I mentioned these Zeta Reticulan scientific curiosity and how they are pretty much responsible for 99.9% of all abduction cases that we talk about on Earth? Well, let's dive a little deeper down that rabbit hole and talk about what exactly that process looks like according to documents connected to the Blue Planet Project. The abduction part itself is pretty murky, as most people who experience alien abductions often have lapses in their memory, the most common lapse taking place between the abduction and the release portion of the experience. What is generally remembered, however, are the lights, generally strange bright lights in the sky, and the sounds, generally pulsating low-pitch vibrational ones. And then, of course, there are the experiments. Human experiments performed by the Zetas. These include physical exams, reproductive exams that include the extraction of genetic material, and neurological tests, which generally involve brain scans and probing. Those who have gone through the process and lived generally experience trauma, PTSD, and memory loss, which, in case you forgot, I already mentioned.
Alright, so we got greys, reptilians, disgusting man's people, and gorgeous Nordic aliens, apparently that the US government has been aware of and even working with for decades. But what does this all mean for us? Well, there's all kinds of directions where things like this can go, but we can essentially boil it down to two: bad and good. If you're a glass half full kind of person, you might see some benefit to aliens and humans working together. In fact, I might even actually have more faith in extraterrestrials setting out to help humanity than our own governments. Take those supposed alien pharmaceuticals, for example. I mean, they could revolutionize medicine. On the flip side, they might just be revolutionizing the government's ability to control us. Then there's the alien tech. The book talks about advanced spacecraft and alien propulsion systems. If we learned to use this technology, space travel would become as common as flying on planes.
Sorry, she startled me.
Other planets and possibly find new places to live. But on the other hand, there's the potential for some pretty...
I want to show you my favorite truck.
I've got an implication for you. The implication that one day we will all become hybrid, crossbred versions of the aliens I described just a few points ago. Probably these Zetas, aka the Greys. Remember how I said that generally experiments will include reproductive examination with a biological material extraction component? Well, if you're wondering what they could possibly be using that material for, wonder no more. Zeta Reticuli is the name, hybridizing and crossbreeding is the game. Apparently, and according to the Blue Planet Project, Zetas have been
it is
using
on this
DNA
floor.
to create gray human hybrids for quite some time now.
I want to show you my trucks first. Got this one is military.
Alien hybrids all aboard these Zeta spacecrafts. It is theorized that the
This one I stole off the streets.
and self-preservation. Simply put, the Greys engage in crossbreeding.
I bought this one and customized it.
Their civilization and, I don't know, maybe make themselves a little bit
The Hummer.
max out at 4 feet. But if they wanted to try crossbreeding with a human,
My
they could
little
just
badger.
an ad on Craigslist. I'm sure there's like 100 guys who would gladly jump at the chance to jump on a Grey. They really
And last
don't
but
need to
not
be doing
least,
all that.
my favorite
This
truck.
conspiracy ties into a whole bunch of conspiracies dealing with aliens, including, of course, the fact that the government could be 51, Bob Lazar, Dulce Base, cases of UFOs being spotted by mass amounts of people, only for the cases to mysteriously go cold. Many conspiracy theorists and even just the general public who's not even super into this sort of thing can probably agree that the government keeps a lot of things under wraps. And what bigger secret could there be than the presence of alien life right here on Earth? Why this book ain't all over the news, plastered on every street corner, being talked about on every podcast seeking the truth, is beyond me. I can understand not being super surprised about grays and in cahoots with the government.
That
They're
is a
boring
nice
fantasy
truck.
beans. Everyone needs to be made aware
Very
of this
much so.
immediately, which is why we're here with you right now.
I mean, it makes sense why the government is doing their absolute best to cover up the existence of multiple alien races making their way across the universe. How else would they be able to secretly reap the benefits of the advanced extraterrestrial technology? I know you touched upon it briefly, but let's get into it a little bit more. I'm talking specifically about the technologies used in alien spacecraft. You guys might recall a video James and I did a while back.
That is my favorite truck. Let's go see what else we have on the second floor.
Who claimed that the government was using Area 51 to reverse engineer a
They can't be all my
spacecraft
off-road
that ran on
vehicles. I know I've got a
a
few
highly
more.
unstable and radioactive element that has only ever been produced
Okay,
in
yeah,
a
I have
lab.
quite a few
On
more.
Earth, at least. Well, according to the Blue Planet Project, that guy is telling the truth. The documents also claim that the military has used alien
Now, I love
technology to
this
create
truck.
anti-gravity devices
Or
and
this
to unlock the
vehicle,
secrets
I
of
should say.
faster-than-light
It's not really a
space
truck,
travel. Not only
but you
that,
can take it
aliens also
off-roading.
provided us with exotic matter reactors and metal materials that can be trained to shapeshift in various environments. Imagine going to sleep one day, and your laptop's a laptop, and you wake up, and it's like, I don't know, a statue of a bear or something?
Got this one for Christmas last year. You've been naughty. I like the graphics on this one better, though. That's pretty cool. If they were neon colors, that'd be even cooler. This one is not exactly my favorite. I don't remember where I got this one. Alright, let's go to the next floor here.
This is a mega RV, and this is a micro RV. We're going to be spending the next 24 hours on a road trip. Ready? All right, let's go see the inside of the micro RV. Not much going on in here.
I only got one more.
Over here, we've got our micro kitchen. Don't forget about the best part.
Oh, I forgot I had this one.
Toilet combo. We're going to be spending
This is my cousin Matt's truck.
Let's begin. What? I'm in charge of entertainment. Anchors up. Go! We want to go on an adventure. We want to go somewhere unexpected, somewhere dangerous, someplace no one's camped before. Let me ask you something. When you go on a road trip, what do? You get snacks, play road trip games, souvenirs, and of course, cool stops and activities. We're going to be doing all of those things. What are we doing first? Fellas, welcome to the mega obstacle course. Our goal is to get to the top. You're just standing here, level 1? Level 1. We're going to the top. Check it out, guys. We have made it to the very
And those
top.
are my off-road vehicles.
Very high up. How you feeling, fellas?
Then we're going down, 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 down.
The run. No. I'll go first.
I want to show you my auto
You
shop.
promise? I'm doing it. Keep running. You hear that? Keep running. Look over the edge before you go. Holy. Oh, that's gonna suck. All right, Caleb. Send it.
This is my shop. Excuse me.
He did it! Since I'm in charge of food, I say we get food. Like. I am starving. How much did you spend on your activity? About $240. Oh, my. I'm willing to spend money to have fun with my friends. Yeah, $770 left. And less than $700 for activities? Less than half of it, and we spent all the money. Everything. We'll each have $1,000. We're going to home meat. Home meat. I don't want to eat here. No. Yes. Watch.
Nice and low.
Yes, please. Look at this, guys. Because road trip food always hits different. Oh, man, filled with queso? Nuh-uh.
I like looking at my food for a while before I indulge.
The knife broke. This burrito's so hard. Are you cutting it? I'm trying to cut it. It's barely cutting. How was lunch? Are you feeling full?
Very tummy full.
Do you want to be hungry again?
It's just, how is that possible to be hungry after this?
Our next activity is I'm going to take us to a cryo spa. It helps boost metabolism. It's good for your health.
The only reason we're doing this is so we can eat more snacks later.
Correct. Before we continue the road trip, we stopped at a local coffee shop.
We got so much energy.
What the heck?
Oh my gosh.
Yes!
How much did this Fuck. Don't worry about it. It was $50. $50 on the same drink? Look, it's an overnight, right, boys? We're in our robes, gloves, socks, and warm slippers. Hey, if you have to pee, does that mean it'll get frozen in there? Like, do you recommend going pee first or after?
Probably before.
Oh, in the chamber of cold.
Take off that rope.
How cold does it get in here?
It can get to negative 220 degrees.
Oh.
You'll only be in there 2.5 minutes, and it's equivalent to a 45-minute ice bath.
What does this do to your body?
You undergo something called vasoconstriction. All of your blood kind of rushes to your core. That's why we have to protect it. Basically, the oxygenation, nutrients, and so when you step into your body, release and like inflammation, so it helps.
Dude, it's so cold. It's like rejuvenating.
All I hear in the background is another show. I have no idea what they're doing.
It's a, well, I'm not gonna explain it, but it's weird. I'm gonna tell you that much, it's weird.
I've almost died. We feel great though. On to the next adventure. These shots will be exclusively on the Instagram account. Everybody say Rick. 1, 2, 3, Rick. Push the button. I did. I tried. 1, 2, 3, Rick. Take Mark. 1, 2, 3, Rick. I'm on. We can open the door mid-drive. No. Let's just try it.
Can you imagine having that much cash?
It's imperative that we get snacks to continue this road trip. Hyper, what are you in charge of? Well, I'm in charge of games and activity inside, not outside. We're getting crackers, chips, beef jerky. Let's go. Yes.
I think it's time to steal a car.
Put that back. He steps up. He's all by himself. Fires into the end zone. Touchdown! No! You scared? Right, No! No!
Standard range.
Andrew,
Banana.
what other snacks do you want? Let me think. Do you want applesauce? Would you mind pushing me to games? Yeah, I got you. Yeah, okay. Don't move, Seth. Back to the micro RV, and as you can see, we didn't really get that much stuff, but this thing is so small that now we don't have much room to move around. Oh, you missed.
Oh, it's never easy with them, is it? Alright, let's go to the car and determine how they drive.
Yes, I'm an idiot, huh? Yes, Caleb, you are in a Mr. Beast video right now for $500,000 for your family if you make this move. Okay. Okay. My turn. Oh, yeah! I'm not a golfer. All right, one of the games I got is deer pong. We've already chosen teams. We got Andrew and me, and we got Justin and Webb. First team to fill all 3 of their cups win. And to up the ante, fellas, I say the losing team has to get tattoos. Do you guys agree? We're not gonna lose. Let's go. Let's do it. It's on! Yeah. Put you down nice and easy. Oh! Oh! Woo! Yes, we got it first! Because my foot, I got nervous. It scared me. That's 1 for me and Caleb, 0 for you guys. Ah, yeah! Oh, no. You guys totally did it. Oh, no. That thing's so bad. I don't want to do a
I'm gonna try that again.
What the heck was that? Oh! Yeah! Let's go! All I need to do is make this ball in the cup. You guys lose. Ready? What? Oh, no! Yeah! Let's go! Okay, go. 2 in a row. Double. Why? That's the goal. twice. Why? Do it twice. You can right after. I'm not gonna.
The key is to get from point A to point B without as little damage as possible.
Fellas, let's drive on over. All right, before we get tattoos, I got. No, what are you doing? Hyper, you better be joking. Fine, no, this is so overwhelming. Turn the light off. Turn, I can see everything. I can still see everything. Oh my God. Why do they have the door in here? I can't. You have to figure that out before we continue driving. All right, we're here.
I'm gonna pay a lot of money to get this fixed up. So I have a feeling I'm gonna have some people after me here in a minute.
What do you guys think?
Come on, people, move.
How's it going? Doing great. Doesn't hurt at all. Really? Liar. I'm all done.
Guys, I'm getting nervous. I was really expecting Caleb and I to win the challenge. I really wanted to see Piper and Andrew.
So far, I only gotta pay $702 to fix it.
There you go, guys. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That hurt, but for the bandage on, I did it. Thank you.
How was it, Caleb? Good. I got nervous at first because I found out mid-tattoo that she was like an apprentice and not her own artist yet. But it turned out really cool. It was just funny, like mid-tattoo, like, oh, very glad we got people tattooed. Still learning.
I wish you and Hyper got this.
I know, that would be so fun.
Oh, it's been so cool to see you get tattoos. But, you know, maybe next year, who knows? We're walking back to the RV, and we're just really hoping that it's still there and not broken into.
Don't look like I'm gonna have people after me, although it's still not quite there, so it could still happen at any given moment. They could show up.
Oh, it smells like pizza, guys. It's 10 p.m. and we're having pizza. I think I'm all out of food budget after this one. This is $100. All right, guys, now it's time for a little new activity. Making a song. Get out the beverages. It's 11 p.m. and the night's just getting started. Yeah!
We gotta go this way.
The recording studio is open. All right, we just gotta get the mic set up.
It's a big day, but it feels like every other day in a big way. I was hoping I could run away and go all the way. At the same time, my mind feels alive when I think about the time in my past.
Okay, that's on the books at your warehouse. You've got to use the SecuroSurf terminal at the office if you want to go after another one.
I got a ramp buggy downstairs. I'm gonna show you my ramp buggy.
You're so punk rock. Ah! Every time I run in here, I feel like I'm just gonna get got.
Could have got some cool.
This is very cool. Wait, if we would have won the mountains, there could have been danger of bears and other things.
It's basically midnight now, and we did notice there's a donut shop just up there at that block. So somebody, or at least two, because we're doing the buddy system, has to go get donuts.
Well, we got tattoos, so I think y'all should go.
What? Yep. It's only fair.
Right.
Okay, so we're here.
This car could take a lot of damage.
That's not far at all. You can totally walk there.
This is 2-minute walk.
2 minutes, you're fine.
That's my ramp buggy.
Just take the camera and go.
That's the only vehicle I got down here.
We're going to show you this whole area. It's going to lay down like a nice bed. Holy crap, I just stared at it the whole time.
Safety's right up here.
Wait, why don't we take a shortcut?
We'll go down dark alley.
What?
This is a dark alleyway.
Okay. Holy crap, run, you idiot. Look, he's making donuts right now. Whoa.
Well, we made it to the donut shop alive.
Run back to the place. Done. What are you doing? Hurry! Like, let us in. Open up. Good, nice. Get in there. Get in there for Ernie finds us. Carl, you're we got the door set up, boys. Wow. Just the door and lock it.
Check it out, guys. We got the bed situation. It's actually a pretty decent size. It's not going to be the best sleeping here. I'm just going to say that.
Seems kind of almost like his new.
This is my office.
Yeah. Well, there's one part right down here for like.
Wait.
Oh! Oh, God. That hurts so bad. Buddy blasted his head off.
Is that good night? Did he get knocked out?
I think he did.
The way it looks like for me that I'm laying right there.
Yep.
Just destroyed his elbow.
So you gotta be careful, because as you can see, you will hit your head if you don't keep in mind where you're at.
The length of this bed is actually not too bad.
No, I'm a snuggler.
No, you're not.
I can't help it.
You're gonna sleep in the bathroom if that's happening. Ow! It is not time for bed yet. You guys got donuts. What'd you get? Wow.
I got one that I thought everyone. Well, I can't talk. I got a flavor that I thought.
Anyway, I asked the guy, hey, if I had to get one donut from here, what would it be? And he didn't answer. He goes, I got you.
So what is it?
One of these.
One of my favorite donuts of all time is the grape.
Why?
I thought you love maple.
What?
You love maple.
And I guess for me, he got the old poop deal. Dirty dirt dauber.
Let's try a bite.
Wow, that is fluff beef.
Just tastes so good.
Turn the light off and let's all lay down. That would be great.
Hey, where'd he go?
You're gonna pop up. I just know it.
What was he doing? He was like, had his pants down.
Really?
He was doing something.
So yeah, apparently fletching tables are crafting tables. Who knew? That's gonna make accessing other parts of this pack kind of weird, but I figured that there's probably a way around it. But as I finished clearing out all of the other different towers and looting more chests, it turns out smithing tables are crafting tables too. Wait. In trying to figure that out, I pressed a button which opened up a quest menu, which immediately gave me bread. Lots of bread. But in trying to just tab through everything, it also just gave me a totem of undying, which, okay, if a mod pack just gives you a totem for the tutorial screen, that's probably a bad sign, right? That's probably an indication that it's going to be dangerous. So I thought, yeah, let's throw that totem into my inventory. But heading out of the city, I quickly passed by the jungle temple, fought a few mobs to pick up a bucket of water, which would allow me to then dig into the temple and use the water to descend down the central shaft. As this one's filled with silverfish, I don't want to go through my normal, what would be a desert pyramid strategy, because that feels like a really good way to get my ankles bitten to death by a bunch of silverfish. Considering I was just given a totem by the tutorial screen, that tells me that I should probably play just slightly more carefully right now. I looted up everything from the chests at the bottom here, marking off the northern camp and the village, heading back towards home on foot, passing by a few other jungle structures filled with cobwebs and dangers, and oh boy, remember, I was given a totem by the tutorial screen. But I finally made my way back to the north camp, sleeping here going into day 15. The next morning I figured, let's actually turn this camp space into a viable frontline base for right now. I don't know where I'm going to put down roots long term, so it makes sense to have multiple different spots, especially since I can use the waystone to warp from one to the other instantaneously. I set up a few barrels for some basic storage, some ferni, yes, I will flip-flop between calling it ferni and furnaces, smelting up a lot of the raw materials I had collected, and heading out to go explore. I found a small structure nearby, guarded by a few pillagers, who I was actually able to take out pretty quickly. The Vindicators inside, that was a little bit more scary, and I had to lure them to the water so that I could stab them and kill them. But once inside, I found a bunch of pillager loot, horns, logs, a bunch of other things, and 2 villagers inside. Less they are being freed, more so the structure is under new management. I figured out how to lock the doors, dealing with a creeper who was outside who possibly wanted to actually free them, fighting a few other mobs, tooting my horn, and swimming my way across the lake for a quick nap. The following morning, I had to deal with a flaming zombie on my roof. You know, typical Tuesday things. Deciding to go check out that mine shaft that I had seen when I was, well...
Alright, after this match, we'll smoke some more.
Reorganized. It was a reorg. A company reorg. You've all been through those, right? But heading downstairs, I found a bunch of TNT minecarts, which I was able to disable by hitting them with a sword. Don't think about it too hard. Picking up a little bit of food from the loot chests around here, and fighting off a few mobs.
Everybody's got a car, and I got a bike.
Bone cutter, which makes me think that that's going to be useful later. Finding a few rascals, giving them a little bop, but not really chasing them down too actively. Finding instead a big deposit of emeralds right here at the end of one of the mineshaft tunnels, who I was able to collect and secure. Now this place is packed with creepers, and the fact that it is a very green mineshaft to begin with means that they're pretty camouflaged, and I have to play this carefully. And it turns out, even though I was just casually punching them, the rascals had a lot of loot for me. The pickaxes are somewhat underwhelming, but the bundles themselves are really useful, so I decided to hunt them down for the remainder of the day. Picking up a couple extra bundles, and look, they're still fine pickaxes. They're just not diamond. Having satisfied my loot management goblin ways, I made my way back up the mineshaft, and since it was so dark, went in with my new employees to have a quick little sleep. The following day, I continued in a northeast direction, heading through the jungle, having to deal with a bunch of these different overgrown mob variants.
Wow, he's really cruising.
More savannah-like border area,
see if I can get caught up.
And doubling back to a large jungle temple here with these little totems around all of the walls. I headed down and disarmed the traps. Everything is trapped in this mod pack. Everything has arrows that really want to shoot you. And also tunnels that really want to squish you. And apparently also drip zone that really wants to smash you.
Still trying to catch up to the first player.
Why this pack gave me a totem. in the tutorial screen. I'm gonna keep hammering on that. There's nothing you can do to stop me. But I found some emerald blocks and other goodies here, realizing that this is some kind of puzzle. So I tried throwing a couple different items into the cauldrons here based off of what was on the actual item frames. That didn't really give me anything. Instead, I threw an iron ingot in front of the raw iron block, finding a room with a treasure chest inside. I opened it, and that flooded the room. I was able to just swim out, so it's not the most lethal of traps, but everything in this world is trapped, I tell you. Not really knowing where to go from there, I doubled back and headed out and around, passing by a small set of stone statues, mining and finding a spawner underneath one and a chest underneath the other. Oh, yes.
Come on, go.
That's so good. That trident's really
My character didn't
fun,
want to
but I'm
turn.
gonna need to wait to find a mob that won't die in one hit to see what it can actually do.
Looks like I'm gonna get second place.
Right here, though, so I quickly just chopped down a tree and used some wool I had to take a quick little nap, focusing on setting up all of the obsidian, and it's time for everybody's favorite joke. Once I had enough pieces of obsidian to actually complete this portal, I lit it, and before going in, saw a wandering trader off in the distance. So I ran over towards them. They had the exact same trades and nothing unique to actually sell me, killing a few mobs and just walking around trying to get enough leather to make myself another backpack, but stumbling across another village along the way. I didn't bother raiding this just yet. I marked the location for later, but upgraded my second backpack up to gold just so I could have a lot more storage space for what is inevitably going to be a lot of things that I have to carry. Passing by another kind of random abandoned structure on my way back over towards
Anything could happen in the next few matches.
Putting down to bed and taking another quick nap as soon as the sun sets. And on day 19, it's time to go to hell. I spawned into a mushroom-covered ravine. Digging my way out, this is a mycelium-infected mushroom hellscape. Now, not the mycelium-infected mushroom hellscape I had promised this video to be. If you watched to the end of my last one, you knew what I intended, but that mod pack is punishing, and I think I'm going to need some help to take it on. Great, more mushrooms. But I noticed a fortress in the distance via my map, so I at least had a heading. Along the way, I came across a random spawner. It was spawning striders, actually, but there was
He's too far ahead.
So it was pretty nice. Knowing which way I had to go, I was able to just realize straight out of the mushroom forest, loot any of these small little dungeons and structures I found,
Bike
and then
don't
found
wanna
myself
turn.
bridging over one of the bridges of a fortress, having to take out a few wither skeletons at range so I wouldn't be withered down. Now, these are a bigger, badder version of fortresses, meaning
You
that
still
it's
gotta
not
get
just
caught
you
up.
find up here on the top level, even though that can be really awesome. Oh, yes. Perfect. But believe it or not, the fact that I get 2 netherite upgrades right here, that is low-tier stuff once we get into some of the endgame materials for better Minecraft. For some of that, I'm going to have to head down into the lower dungeon levels of the fortress. This is a bunch of tunnels underneath the lava in really confined, close-quarter spaces filled with, you guessed it, traps and wither skeletons. It's always traps and wither skeletons. I checked out a small library area, picking up a few enchanted books, heading over to a spot where it looks like they were kind of forged something out of a giant pillar of obsidian.
Got second
I'm
at
sure there's
least.
no more related reasons for any of that. Getting a few more bits of obsidian and some netherite scrap in the chests. I checked out the armory that I saw right here. None of the swords had any really cool enchants on them, so I just left them be, doing some long-range combat with blazes down one of the tunnels, and finally starting to realize what that poison trident can do. But the interesting thing here was one of the corridors of the nether fortress doubled in and intersected with one of the tunnels for a nether mine shaft. Now these can be really, really good. They can also be really, really cursed with the way that they generate. But in the chests, I'm finding a ton of coal, a bunch of nether wart. There's obviously all of the soul sand that I can collect. The wither roses and the blocks of coal are all really good for just some long-term sustainability. Near the center of this structure is a room that is just filled edge to edge with netherwort, which I can harvest and is way more reliable
Oh,
than
he's the
finding
only one
netherwort
on a
in
death
fortress,
bike.
which seems to be really unlucky for me. Finding a blaze spawner in a nice confined space that I can take care of blazes one at a time. But it actually all intersected in with something that was spawning piglin brutes constantly. It had to be an actual spawner, as I never seemed to run out of them. I tunneled really hard on just trying to kill brutes faster than they were spawning.
Well, that's Arena Wars, and I just leveled up to 214.
That I could finally upgrade it, and even with that extra damage, I still wasn't outpacing the spawn rates. And I wasn't able to get any closer because anytime I would stand on the blocks, they would stab at my ankles and take me down to a heart and a half of health. So I took a little bit to just
That's Arena Wars.
making myself another backpack and going through both of the upgrade tiers to get it to gold, just so I'd have the storage
Put the
space
money
for
in
everything
my
that I was
bank.
finding around here, fighting a few stray blazes, and then making my way back towards the blaze spawner to do some dedicated time of just killing blazes to get enough rods. I was trying to increase the size of the area so I'd increase my spawn rates, but that did make it get a little overwhelming at times, so I actually had to double back and bail out of